And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Wednesday, April 3rd. I'm Josh Engleman, and I'm here to break down an 8-game slate. This is going to be a tough one. We have a lot of teams on a back-to-back and very little information on who's playing and who's not playing. So this is going to be a more generic version of this show than we normally get because we just don't have the correct information to dig into situations that are really up in the air. Hope you guys had some success yesterday. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. Sign up with the promo code DINGER if you want to play MLB DFS. Today is the final day of this deal. It goes away. If you don't use it today, you're not going to have the opportunity. 30% off your first payment, whichever package you pick at Stochastic. Maybe you just want lineup generator for a week. You'll get 30% off. Maybe you want it for a month. You'll get 30% off. Maybe you want data only or Sims Max for a week or a month. They're all 30% off. We have projections and ownership, top stacks and top pitchers, top adders, premium Discord, and more. There's a link in the description of this video, or just go straight to stochastic.com and use that promo code DINGER, because after today, this promo doesn't exist. So what's up, guys? Stephen Lewis, it did not go well for me. It didn't go well at all. The train didn't cash, and most of my stuff didn't cash. It was very annoying. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? But yeah, it'll be fun. We'll break down this NBA slate sort of as quickly as we can, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time digging into some of these intricacies because I've got different stuff than the Stochastic Sims do. We've got how many teams on this back-to-back right now? I want to make sure that I get it right. Lakers, Wizards, no injury report. Thunder, no injury report. Bucks, no injury report. Raptors, Wolves, no injury report. None of that is fun. And then Q tags on guys that like legitimately matter, like Cade Cunningham, like Miles Bridges, Brandon Miller, Grant Williams. It's pretty brutal. So let's get into it now. Let's get it started. Portland Trailblazers, 2-point dogs in Charlotte, 211 total. Doubtful tag on Jeremy Grant. Doubtful tag on Justin Minaya. No Kamara, no Brogdon, no Sharp, no Simons, no Thibault, no Time Lord. We have 40% ownership coming into Jabari Walker. We have 20 coming into Banton, Ayton, Scoot, and basically Ryan Rupert, plus another 10 coming into Chris Murray. Now, I agree with a lot of it. In particular, Jabari Walker, 4,900. He's playing well north of 30 minutes. Certainly looks like the best play here. There's a reason he's 38% owned. Oop, I didn't put the boom bust tool in my sheet yet. 1 second. Let's make sure we have that. It's important. We want to know that kind of stuff. If we have it, why wouldn't we want to look at it? So grab the boom bust tool. There we go. So yeah, Jabari Walker. We have him 27% optimal, 37% owned. Very clearly a fantastic play at 27% optimal. To me, certainly a high-level priority for the slate. Write him down. Part of the core. Probably won't even change no matter what kind of news we get. Now, I'm neutral on Scoot. I'm neutral on Rupert. I'm under on Ayton, and I'm nowhere near on Banton, which I do find interesting. Banton up to 6,900, point guard, shooting guard eligible. You know, I have him in for a fantasy point per minute. I gave him 33 minutes. Not going to get there as much. I think that's probably a little overowned. I think Ayton's a little overowned. I actually took his under PRA in my prize picks video, which won yesterday. So that was helpful. But I think Rupert and Scoot both look like they should be in that 15 to 20% range. I mean, we have Ayton, Scoot, Banton, and Rupert all 15 to 18% optimal. I think that all makes some sense. We have Chris Murray at 10. So there's a lot to like for Portland. And it's because the matchup's great. Now, if we look at the Stochastic side, 57% exposure to Jabari Walker. So right out of the gate, we know Jabari Walker, inner circle play for today. We also got to 29% Scoot, 28% Ayton, 27% Banton, 25% Rupert, 12 to Murray. I agree that Portland looks really good. We're probably a little bit more optimistic than I am. But at the same time, they have 5 legitimate options. You can make a case for 6 with Chris Murray, although he's a bad per minute guy, so I'm not worried about it. All right, Charlotte. Now, this one's basically impossible to talk about. Q tag on Miles Bridges, right wrist contusion. Q tag on Brandon Miller, right wrist sprain. Q tag on Grant Williams, right ankle sprain. And then Vasily Micic is doubtful with a right shoulder strain. Obviously, those Q tags matter. If everybody except for Micic is in, we have 25% ownership going to Mann, 25 to Grant Williams, 25 to Brandon Miller, and another 20 to Bridges. I completely agree with the Miller. I completely agree with Bridges, and I completely agree with Mann. I'm much less of a believer in Grant Williams, although if I give him 2 or 3 extra minutes, that will certainly change things. But for now, I have Nick Richards in, so I'm not as interested in Grant Williams if he's going to be chalk. We need more playing time for Grant Williams for me to think that he's a good play at 24% owned. But if we look at optimal rates, we got Trey Mann to 20. Looks great. We got Bridges and Miller 15 to 18%. They both look great. We have Grant Williams massively overowned, 11% optimal, 24% owned. Not great. Put that in a different color so we could see it better. There we go. That stands out more. So I agree that Charlotte should be picking up some love. But I think Miller, Mann, and Bridges are a lot better than what we're getting out of Grant Williams, unless Nick Richards gets ruled out. Stochastic sims are going to be getting to Charlotte for sure. 34% exposure to Trey Mann. Add him to the short list. 26% exposure to Brandon Miller. I think add him to the short list. If you can get to up over 20% ownership on both of our sims, I think that's where we should be going. 25% to Miles Bridges. Maybe not on the short list, but certainly a priority. But Grant Williams, 12%. Now that's a little bit more lofty than what I got to, which was basically nothing. But I understand the appeal of going to Grant Williams. We just need to know the Q tags. No love to Bertans or Richards, though. I'm saying the priorities are Trey Mann, Brandon Miller, and then Miles Bridges. Grant Williams, a distant 4th. All right. Next game up. LA Lakers. They are 13-point favorites in Washington, 235 total. It's essentially impossible to talk about this game. Lakers are on a back-to-back. We don't know the status of AD. We don't know the status of LeBron. If they're both in, I'd rather get to AD than LeBron. I probably won't get to much LeBron at 10-2. The matchup is clearly great. AD 7% optimal, LeBron 5% optimal. You're not going to anything from the Lakers here unless we get people out. And if we check out the stochastic sim for it, 3% LeBron, 3% AD. That tells the story pretty easily. Now, Washington, even harder to talk about, but there are some things that we need to deal with. So Marvin Bagley left yesterday's game with an injury. We have no idea what the status is on anybody for Washington. We don't know if Kyle Kuzma is going to play today or not. We have no idea if any of the G League guys will be available. But if Anthony Gill starts again, he's one of the best plays on today's slate. Tristan Vukcevic is flat 3K once again. If they only have Holmes and Vukcevic, then Tristan Vukcevic is probably the best play on today's slate. He's 53% owned right now, flat 3K. I have 85%. I'm certainly going to get to Jordan Poole in a big way. I have 47%, but that depends on if Kuzma's in. I'm going to get to Jared Butler. I'm going to get to Denny. I'm getting to Corey Kispert, but it's because we have no idea who's actually playing. Like, on the site, we projected Kyle Kuzma in. I don't really know if he's going to play today. They were missing a bunch of guys for their G League team yesterday. If those guys are available today, that completely changes everything. And we're not talking about these guys in the same way. So Lakers Wizards is basically a cross-off to start the day. There's nothing that we could really talk about right now until we know what their injury report is. Like, we got to 91% of Tristan Vukcevic in the stochastic sims, but we also have Kuzma in. I don't know what the right answer is. There is nothing here. It's hard to project games like this, so we're basically skipping it. For the Pistons, they're 12-point dogs in Atlanta, 223 total. Now, for the Pistons, we have a Q tag on Cade Cunningham. Obviously important. A Q tag on Marcus Sasser. Important if we end up not having Cade. But if both guys are in, we're showing no ownership to Detroit. 6% to Jaden Ivey is the high mark. That's the same situation on FanDuel. And this is a matchup against the number 27 team in defensive rating. But I don't expect to get to Detroit if they're at full strength. Marcus Sasser is showing up with incredibly large optimal odds if he happens to be in. I'm less of a believer in that. But if we get Cade out, maybe we love getting to Sasser. If we get Cade and Sasser out, maybe we love getting to Malachi Flynn or Evan Fournier or somebody else. But for right now, assuming those guys are in, we're really not going to get to the Detroit Pistons. The Atlanta Hawks are a little bit different. We know who's playing for these guys. No Okongwu, no Trae Young, but we have 20% ownership going to DeJounte Murray, 15 to Capella and Bogdanovich, around 10 for Bruno Fernando and DeAndre Hunter. I took the over on DeAndre Hunter on PrizePicks, so join me there. And I want to get to these guys. Pistons play relatively fast. They're a top 10 team in pace. They're a bottom 5 team in defensive rating. This is a really nice spot for the Hawks. And I'm getting to it, but no overwhelming guys. Around the field on Murray at 20%, around 20% of Hunter, around the field of, 15% of Capella. I have 10% of Bogdanovich, 5% of Bruno Fernando. I even got some shares of Jalen Johnson. They've got 4 guys that are 10% or higher in optimal rate. There's just things to like for Atlanta, and we don't have any ambiguity about who's playing. So we can confidently talk about what Atlanta looks like right now because nothing's really going to change here. We got to 29% of Murray in the stochastic sims, 17% of Clint Capella, and 13% of Bogdan Bogdanovich, plus another 9 to Hunter. Atlanta's a priority today. No one individual guy, I think, stands out more than the others. But if you're going to have 4 guys north of 10% ownership, you got to pay attention to them. Will Jalen start this game? I would imagine yes, but hard to say. I'm going with the assumption that he is until he's not. Let's go to game number 4. Here's another one that's impossible to talk about right now. OKC played yesterday. We had no SGA and no Jalen Williams. We have no idea if those guys are in or playing today. If I put them all in, Oklahoma City's the worst team you can get to. Boston, top 5 defense, bottom 5 team in pace. This is not a game you want to go to OKC if everybody's in. But if you get no SGA, maybe you like everybody else. If you get no Jalen Williams, maybe you like everybody else. If you get neither one of them, you're going to get a bunch of value here. There's no way to really break that down because we don't have their injury report yet. So if everybody is in for Oklahoma City, you can safely skip them. And then we get to Boston. Q-tag Jaylen Brown. Only guy that really matters here. Everybody else appears to be in. But there's no love coming into Boston. Now, maybe that changes if we lose SGA and lose Jalen Williams. But we have 5% ownership coming into Jason Tatum. That's the highest across DraftKings. 6% to Derek White on FanDuel. Not all that interesting. Like, I got a little bit of Tatum, but if these guys are at full strength, it's really hard to recommend Boston. We didn't get anybody north of 8% optimal. So we're just not going to have anything here. And you'll see that in the stochastic sim as well. Here's OKC. 1 single share of Shea. Could change. Here's Boston. 5% of Tatum and basically nothing else. So we need the Oklahoma City injury report. We need the news on Shea and Jalen Williams. But this is just another spot where we kind of have to just sit back, relax, and get the news. Yeah, Israel, it's really hard to break this kind of stuff down because it's more than one decision point. It's not just like, oh, either this guy is in or he's out. Here are the things that we can do. It's like 3 or 4. I mean, there are so many different permutations for just OKC Or if we want to talk about the Wizards today, the Pistons with Cade and Sasser. No idea what the Lakers do. It's all really annoying for right now. Do we have any bets that look good? Here's Odds Shopper right now, up to date. Didn't mean to click on testimonials. You can read testimonials if you guys want to. Oliver Dunn to hit a home run, plus 750 at FanDuel. That's looking good. Yainer Diaz, plus 2+ hits, plus 240. Both of those have greater than 10 Odds Shopper ratings. If you're looking for an NBA play, under 5.5 assists for Austin Reeves is plus 104 at FanDuel. If you want to go grab that. Not much else to point out, though, from a sports betting perspective. Do we have any pick'em free squares? We do. Donovan Mitchell, which may or may not exist, but Donovan Mitchell free square on Sleeper tonight. At some point in time, that'll get out. Grab that. Drew Holiday over 3.5 rebounds at Sleeper is a 66% expected win. Joe Musgrove under 6.5 strikeouts is a 62% expected win. If you play on Sleeper, go grab those two plays right out of the gate and lock them in. High chance of winning. But then also, if you could add the Donovan Mitchell free square, that's a nice little card for you guys. All right, Indy and Brooklyn. Now, not the easiest game to talk about. The Indy side's fine, but we do have a Q tag on Miles Turner. For Brooklyn, we do have Cam Johnson probable, DSJ questionable. So this one's actually okay to talk about. Now, there's no love coming into Indiana. 7% ownership to Miles Turner is the most anybody's getting. We do get Siakam to 10 on FanDuel. We did get Miles Turner to 11% optimal, but he's questionable. If Miles Turner doesn't play, then we're going to get to Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson as potential value options. But if Turner does play, I think he looks interesting, and I'm 2xing the field. But after that, I don't want anything from the Pacers. It's not that great of a matchup against Brooklyn. Nobody stands out pricing-wise. These guys have been pretty steady in their playing time as of late. So it's really just Miles Turner or bust for me. And that's not all that fun to talk about. Stochastic Sim has 7% exposure to Miles Turner and nothing else of interest. So we're not really paying attention to Indiana in any way. And we don't really have any news other than Turner. So the center spot will work its way out based on that news. Brooklyn, though, 13% ownership to Trendon Watford, 5% to everybody else. I don't find this spot to be particularly interesting. Now, we have Trendon Watford 35% optimal. We also gave him 28 minutes and 28 fantasy points. I gave him 16 minutes. Now, he's been playing a lot lately. That is a true statement. He's been playing a lot. He played 24 minutes 3 games ago, 29 2 games ago, and 34 this most recent game. But if we're getting Cam Johnson back, I don't think that's the same for Watford. The last time that Cam Johnson played real minutes, when he got to 30, Watford was essentially not in the rotation. I'd be very surprised if Trendon Watford plays 28 minutes today, and I don't think he's going to be this optimal. So I'm not interested. I'm more interested in 7K Bridges, shooting guard, small forward, but I only have 15%. I really don't have much of Brooklyn, which is kind of annoying considering this matchup is great against the Pacers. Now, Stochastic Sims are very clearly going to have way too much of Trendon Watford. Yeah, 67%. He's not going to be 35% optimal and 13% owned tonight. This is impossible to exist. So either the ownership comes up or the optimal comes down. I think the optimal will come down quite a bit. But other than that, we're not really getting to Brooklyn, even in a great matchup. I have 5% of Cam Thomas. He's a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy. 5% of Dennis Schroeder. He's a 1 fantasy point per minute guy against the Pacers. I got 8% of Claxton, but that's more like a GPP pivot at best. There's just not a lot here. And it's not going to get better for this next game. Now, the Memphis side we can talk about, because Memphis only has one individual Q tag on John Conchar. The other guys are out. Now, we don't have good plays from Memphis. It's 10% ownership to Luke Kennard. It's 10% ownership to Brandon Clark. I don't really have much of Clark. I did get to 10% of Kennard. Now, Kennard on FanDuel, very different. Point guard, shooting guard eligible, 4,800. He's pulling 38% ownership right now. That's a different play. But on the DraftKings side, I essentially don't have Memphis, and I don't really have any interest in Memphis, although it could look way different depending on who plays for Milwaukee. Stochastic Sim got to 11% of Brandon Clark and nothing else. I just don't really see the appeal of getting to this game at all, at least not from the Memphis side. We would need news. It doesn't look good. But then we get to Milwaukee, and we can't talk about Milwaukee in any way. So we didn't have Dame yesterday. They're on a back-to-back. We have no idea if Chris Middleton is playing this back-to-back. We have no idea if Giannis is playing this back-to-back. We have no idea what's available for Milwaukee. So here's the easy thing for me to say. If it's like it was yesterday with no Dame, Chris Middleton's going to be one of my favorite plays of the day again. He smashed yesterday, worked out perfectly. Giannis looks amazing as well if we have no Dame again. But maybe we have Dame, but we don't have Middleton. Maybe we have Dame, but we don't have either of those two guys. Maybe we have none of the three. We have no idea what to do with Milwaukee. But if one dude is out of their big three, those other two guys are going to look amazing. If it's two out, jack it up even more. But then we start creating other value in Bobby Portis, Pat Bev, Connaughton potentially, AJ Green potentially. We just don't know who's going to be in or out for Milwaukee. So there's nothing that we could really say right now. Nothing we can do, nothing we can break down for Milwaukee. All right, schedule for the rest of the day. We have 2 more games to go just in this show. But we have MLB strategy show / live before lock. That's going to start at noon. That's going to be Laffy and Bellman. They're going to take you up to 1 o'clock because we have an early slate today. We have a 2 p.m. NHL strategy show, a 5 p.m. MLB live before lock for tonight's slate, 6 p.m. NBA live before lock. That's going to be myself and Eric back again. And then Greg and I are back to do it all on playback, playback.tv/stochastic. We watch basketball games. We use League Pass. We hand out VIP passes so you guys can see it too. If you don't happen to have League Pass, we sweat bets. We break down news, all of that good stuff. I should have had a much better day in the NBA yesterday. If Anthony Edwards would have been better, that was my issue. Sensabaugh was great. Middleton was great. Jokic was great. I never actually looked to see how my this doesn't seem like it's going to be good. Yeah, Chet. How did Chetty play 18 minutes? Who played for the Spurs yesterday? Brandon played 37. Champagne played 37. Chetty playing 18 was a real kick in the ding-dong. Yeah, Kessler got hurt. That was nonsense. Oh, Brandon, thank you. Good. That makes way more sense. When I didn't check anything last night, so I didn't go back and check because Chetty was my white of the night. So, hey, let me guess. Chetty got hurt. All right, here we go. 2 games to go. Hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. Toronto, 15-point dogs in Minnesota. And spoiler alert, if you haven't known yet, we're not going to be able to talk about Toronto. The Raptors are on a back-to-back. Bruce Brown got hurt during the game. We have no idea what his status is. I'm guessing they're not playing Quickly and RJ Barrett on the back-to-back, but maybe they are. But we have no idea. So we have no idea who's available for Toronto. We're projecting 0 ownership. 5% to Jordan Nwora is the high. We did get to 16% optimal for Nwora. We'll see based on how this rotation looks, but we don't know who's going to play for Toronto. So there's nothing we could really do here. And I didn't get them in any of my sims if everybody's in. Now, Minnesota is very different. They're also on a back-to-back, but if we just project them the same way they were yesterday, I got to 40% of Ant at 20% ownership. I got to 10% Conley at 20% ownership. Gobert's 20% owned. I agree. Naz Reid's 15% owned. I agree. I think you could easily get to Jaden McDaniels if you want to. The whole team sort of looks solid. We have 4 guys that are 10% or higher in optimal rate. If you're getting to anything you want, Corey Kispert did not date Kim Kardashian. What are you talking about? Are you thinking of Chris Humphries? You have to be thinking of Chris Humphries. Corey Kispert dating Kim Kardashian before Ray J. Kispert would have been in like elementary school. It's craziness. Play Minnesota. I'm going straight back to Ant. And I'm definitely going to Naz Reid and Gobert. Big day out of Reid yesterday. I'm hoping that we can get the Ant version today. How old is Corey? All right. Corey Kispert is 25 years old. The sex tape happened in 2003. So just for everybody to know, Corey Kispert was 4 years old when that got recorded. 4. I'm pretty sure they weren't dating. Even if you want to go based on when the tape got leaked, that's 2007. Corey Kispert was 8. Craziness. All right. Now, I do want to show the Minnesota side in the stochastic sims because I think projecting them is easy. 35% exposure to Anthony Edwards. Write that name down. 29% to Rudy Gobert. Write that name down. 15% to Conley. Good play. I think you can get to Reid and you can get to Jaden McDaniels. The moral of the story for Minnesota is you want to play everybody that's starting. So get yourself to Minnesota tonight. And it could look even better if we get anybody out on the back-to-back. Final game for me here. Orlando Magic, 4.5-point dogs in New Orleans, 209 total. Now, we know the status of Orlando. Everybody's in. And for New Orleans, everybody's in. The highest owned guy for the Magic, this is the number 2 defense against the number 4 defense. The number 25 team in pace against the number 24 team in pace. This matchup sucks. I didn't get to a single share of Orlando. No one's more than 4% owned. No one's more than 5% optimal. Meanwhile, New Orleans, you can get to Zion, obviously. I got 17%. You can get a little Trey Murphy, a little CJ, a little Joe Val. None of these guys look great. It's single-digit ownership. It's single-digit optimal. This game is awful for DFS purposes, and you'll see it in the stochastic sims. We are so far away from having the right amount of information today. Orlando, 1 share Wendell Carter Jr., 1 share Paolo Banchero. New Orleans, not going to be much better. 7% CJ, 3% Zion. So I see it a little bit differently. I'd rather get to Zion than CJ, but still. We just went through 8 games. Half of the slate we can't even talk about. And 4 of the other games just don't look good. Like, we could talk about Orlando. Why would we? We could talk about the Pels. There's not much to say. OKC, no, until we get news. Boston, no, unless we get news. This is a slate that like makes very little sense. I mean, here's the number 1 lineup that we had in the stochastic sim. Scoot, Brandon Miller, Anthony Edwards, Trendon Watford, Tristan Vukcevic, Lillard, Wara, Capella. So we have no idea if Brandon Miller's playing. We have no idea if Anthony Edwards is playing. Trendon Watford is very live to play 18 minutes tonight. Tristan Vukcevic doesn't have to play 20 minutes. He's either a great value or totally useless. We have no idea if Dame is playing. Jordan Wara is completely dependent on whether or not Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett, and Bruce Brown play. And then Clint Capella is a normal option. Most of that top lineup has a giant question mark on it right now. I don't even want to run the FanDuel side, but I will for, because everybody's nice. But this is not going to carry a lot of weight, guys. It's just not. Not that kind of slate so far. We need more news. All right. Jabari Walker is going to be very popular here. Let's simulate these lineups on FanDuel, and then we're going to get out of here. Tick, tick, tick. What are we going to get on FanDuel? Remember, though, whatever we get on FanDuel carries no weight the same way the DraftKings stuff doesn't carry any weight. Steven, no, I will not be playing NBA. I'm playing the MLB early, and that's it. All right, coming down the home stretch for FanDuel. Let's break this down, and then we're going to get on out of here. Drum roll, please. Number one lineup, Damian Lillard, Trey Mann. So we don't know about Dame. DeJounte Murray, Delano Banton. Okay. Miles Bridges, we don't know. Aaron Nesmith, my boy. Bobby Portis, could look great, could be useless. Trendon Watford, could look great, could be useless. Tristan Vukcevic, could look great, could be useless. Should be a fun day. If we want to just talk about the most exposed guys to start, Damian Lillard is the highest exposed guy. We have no idea if that man is even playing. Jabari Walker is going to be a good play no matter what. Anthony Edwards, if he's in, is a good play no matter what. Trey Mann, good play no matter what. Miles Bridges, if he's in, good play no matter what. Tristan Vukcevic is a complete question mark. Banton should be good no matter what. Watford, I don't expect to look like this. I have the hiccups. I don't expect Watford to be around later. I wish that I could break this down more, guys. I really do. But it's just not that kind of slate. We don't have so much news. We have so many Q tags. It's the hardest part of the season. We've got 10 days left in the regular season, I believe. So we're slowly but surely getting ourselves to playoff time, which I can't wait for. But for now, we're going to duck on out of here. Remember, MLB strategy show / live before lock is taking place at noon today because we have a 1 o'clock lock for the early. They're going to break down that early slate. MLB live before lock tonight at 5 will break down tonight's slate. What else do we have? NHL strategy show at 2. Don't miss that. And then you get myself and Eric back again tonight at 6. So, guys, thank you for being here. I would love to break this down more. Unfortunately for us, we just don't have enough information to really do it today. So we'll be back tomorrow. How many games do we have tomorrow? I haven't even looked at the schedule yet. What do we got here? NBA tomorrow. 5 games. 7:30 lock tomorrow. And then Friday, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are 12 games on Friday's slate. I assume they'll drop the 10 and the 10:30. So we should have a 10-gamer on Friday that'll be fun to break down. Good luck to you guys. I appreciate you being here. This was the NBA Strategy Show. Peace.